It's 1987. A 12-year-old kid is at his uncle's house in suburban Ohio. He's never seen anything like it. The bedroom furniture is all mirrors and dark wood. There's a lava lamp on the dresser. And right in the center of the room, underneath a satin sheet, is a mattress that moves. He puts one hand on it and feels it shift like something alive under the surface. His uncle grins and says, "Go ahead, sit down." He does. And for about 4 seconds, it is the single greatest experience of his entire life. Then he slides off onto the floor. That uncle owned one of the roughly 22 million waterbeds that were in American homes by the late 1980s. At the peak of the craze, 1 in 5 American adults slept on a bag of water every single night. Furniture stores dedicated entire floors to them. There were waterbed-specific sheets, waterbed-specific heaters, waterbed-specific repair kits. There was an entire industry built around this one idea. And then, within about a decade, almost all of it vanished. What you're about to hear is the full story, where it came from, why it exploded, and exactly what killed it. The waterbed wasn't invented by a furniture company. It wasn't invented by an engineer or a sleep scientist. It was invented in 1968 by a graduate design student at San Francisco State University named Charles Hall. And his original concept was considerably weirder than a vinyl mattress filled with water. Hall's thesis project was about furniture that conformed to the human body. His first prototype wasn't water at all. It was cornstarch. He filled a vinyl bag with around 300 pounds of liquid cornstarch, climbed in, and discovered that it smelled terrible and grew mold within days. He tried gelatin next. Same problem, worse smell. He eventually landed on water temperature controlled, sealed, with a vinyl liner, and realized he had something genuinely novel. The university rejected his thesis. Too impractical, they said, too far outside the norms of furniture design. Hall filed a patent anyway, self-funded a small production run, and started selling waterbeds out of a van in San Francisco. He priced them at around $100 each, roughly $800 in today's money, and the counterculture embraced them immediately. This is the part that gets overlooked in most tellings of the story. The waterbed didn't start as a product aimed at middle America. It started as a countercultural object, a deliberate rejection of the rigid, structured furniture of post-war domesticity. It was sleeping on something fluid, something that moved, something your parents definitely didn't have. The lesson here is one that repeats throughout product history. The most disruptive ideas often begin at the fringes, rejected by the institutions that should have embraced them. By the early 1970s, the waterbed had become something more than furniture. It had become a shorthand, a signal. If you had a waterbed, it communicated something about who you were, or at least who you wanted to be perceived as. It said, "I'm relaxed, I'm sensual, I don't live by conventional rules." Hollywood understood this immediately. The waterbed became a prop for a specific kind of character, the bachelor, the swinger, the unattached man who had designed his life around pleasure and freedom. Hugh Hefner famously had one at the Playboy Mansion. It appeared in films and TV shows throughout the decade as visual shorthand for a particular lifestyle. When you saw a waterbed on screen, you knew everything you needed to know about the character who slept in it. Advertisers leaned into this aggressively. Waterbed marketing in the 1970s was almost uniformly built around themes of romance and sensuality. Couples tangled in satin sheets, soft lighting, suggestive copy. One ad from 1972 simply read, "The most pleasure you can buy for under $200. No further explanation offered or required." But here's what's interesting about this phase of the waterbed's life. The very thing that made it cool also limited it. A product that signals rebellion and sensuality appeals strongly to a narrow segment of the market. To go truly mainstream, to get into 20% of American bedrooms, it needed to shed some of that identity. And in the late 1970s and early 1980s, that's exactly what happened. Products that achieve mass adoption almost always have to give up some of what made them feel special in the first place. And the waterbed is a perfect case study in how that trade-off works. The turning point came in the late 1970s, driven by 2 things: technology and back pain. Or more precisely, the marketing of back pain relief is the primary benefit of the waterbed, combined with technical improvements that made the product significantly less annoying to actually own. Early waterbeds were what the industry called free flow, essentially a giant sealed bag of water with nothing inside to slow movement. When you shifted your weight, the water moved. When your partner rolled over at 2 a.m., you felt it like a slow-motion wave. Some people loved this. Most people, after sleeping on one for a week, found it deeply disorienting. The waveless waterbed changed this. Interior baffles and fiber layers dampened the motion dramatically. Suddenly, you had most of the body-conforming benefit without the sensation of sleeping on a small, inland sea. Simultaneously, manufacturers started making hard-sided frames that looked indistinguishable from conventional bedroom furniture. The waterbed stopped looking like a prop from a 1970s film set and started looking like something you could actually put in a normal bedroom. Retailers invested heavily. In 1984, there were approximately 7,000 waterbed specialty stores in the United States, more than there were McDonald's locations at the time. Department stores added waterbed sections. The industry was generating over $2 billion a year in revenue. The back pain angle proved especially powerful. Chiropractors began recommending them. Orthopedic claims, some legitimate, some considerably stretched, filled advertising copy. The waterbed had successfully rebranded from a symbol of the counterculture to a product with a health justification. And that made it something an entirely different kind of consumer felt comfortable buying. When a product finds a way to make a respectable, practical argument for something people secretly wanted anyway, the market opens up in ways pure desire never could. Here's what the ads didn't mention. Waterbeds weighed between 1,500 and 2,000 pounds when full. A standard queen-size mattress weighs around 80 pounds. This created some genuinely memorable situations for owners who hadn't done the structural math before purchase. Apartment leases began including waterbed clauses through the 1980s because enough second-floor waterbeds had failed, slowly, catastrophically, to make the insurance implications clear. There are documented cases of waterbeds collapsing through weakened floors. There are stories of slow leaks discovered only when a downstairs neighbor noticed their ceiling developing a new and interesting texture. Beyond the structural hazards, ownership came with ongoing friction that conventional mattresses simply didn't have. You needed a heater. Without it, sleeping on an unheated waterbed in winter was genuinely unpleasant. You needed a conditioner added to the water periodically to prevent algae growth inside the vinyl. You couldn't just move it. Draining and refilling a waterbed took hours. Changing sheets was a unique physical challenge that waterbed owners described with the particular weariness of someone who has done it many times and resents all of them. There was also the repair kit. Every waterbed came with one. A small vinyl patch kit for when the inevitable small puncture appeared. Waterbed owners from this era remember the patch kit the way people remember spare tires. You hoped you'd never need it. You were usually wrong. The ongoing maintenance burden of the waterbed wasn't a secret. Owners knew about it, but it was consistently underplayed at point of sale. And for millions of buyers, the gap between the showroom experience and the reality of daily ownership became the slow foundation of regret. By the early 1990s, the waterbed market was in serious trouble. But it wasn't the weight issues or the maintenance hassles that killed it. People had been dealing with those for years. What killed the waterbed was foam. Specifically, the emergence of high-quality foam and inner spring hybrid mattresses that could credibly offer the same body-conforming benefits as a waterbed at a fraction of the weight with none of the infrastructure. The Sleep Number bed launched in 1987. Tempur-Pedic brought memory foam to consumer mattresses in the early 1990s. Suddenly, the waterbed's core value proposition, pressure relief, body contouring, customizable firmness, was available in a mattress that weighed 80 pounds and fit a standard bed frame and didn't require a conditioner or a heater or a dedicated patch kit. The specialty waterbed stores began closing. By 1995, the number had dropped from 7,000 to under 2,000. By the early 2000s, waterbed-specific retail was essentially gone. The manufacturers either pivoted to making soft-sided waterbeds that mimicked conventional mattress profiles, or they exited the market entirely. What's striking about the waterbed's decline is how complete it was. Most major consumer trends leave behind a residual market, a loyal base that keeps buying. The vinyl record never truly disappeared. Convertible cars still exist. But the freestanding waterbed industry essentially collapsed to near zero within about 15 years of its peak. Today, waterbed sheets are a specialty item. Waterbed heaters are sold as niche products. The 7,000 stores are entirely gone. The Waterbed story is the story of a product that won a market by offering something genuinely new, then lost it the moment the genuinely new part could be replicated without all the complications. 20% of American adults once slept on a bag of heated water inside a wood frame, convinced this was the future of rest. And for a while, it was, or at least it felt that way. The waterbed's rise and fall is one of those stories that seems obvious in retrospect and was completely invisible in real time to the people living through it. Most of the great crazes look like that, inevitable on the way up, inevitable on the way down, never inevitable in the middle when everyone's still buying. If you're the kind of person who finds these stories as fascinating as I do, the hidden histories of things we forgot to remember, subscribe and hit the notification bell. There's a new one of these every week. I'll see you in the next one.